Podcast fam, how are you this morning? We are so excited to bring you Kyle and Michael, co-founders of Gainesville startup Laundr. They met in their hometown of Miami, Florida, and have been friends since they were 12. Kyle did his undergraduate and master's degree at UF, and Michael did his undergrad at UCF, later coming together again in 2018 here in Gainesville to solve a problem that has plagued generations upon generations. Laundry. Get those tidy whities out of that dirty hamper, because after today, you will never want to do your own laundry again. They have solved the problem. Enjoy today's episode. You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. 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 I am your host, Collin Austin. My co-host is Michael Dees.
What's going on? So excited to be here.
Yes, sir.
Love podcast day. Yep. We are now, this episode releases on February 8th. I'm now eight days. Did you know this? I'm 8 days away from 35.
How does that make you feel, man?
It's weird. Like, it's not, because I still feel like super young. I talk about this probably often enough, but like working the scooter business, primary demographic, whenever classes are here, 18 to 22. So like, it definitely keeps you feeling young, but I feel young anyway. Actually, sometimes it makes me feel older than I am, because like I've become out of touch with the newest apps and the lingo and the social, like it's like you try to keep up with it, and I'm just like, I'm too old to say get off my lawn, but it starts to feel that way. But anyway, I feel good for 35.
We were recording. You were sick this episode, but the episode we were recording with William Papa. Mm-hmm. You know, TikTok, right? 0 to 1.1 million followers on TikTok. He used the word simping.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Do you guys know what simping means?
I've seen it recently, but so
of course. Yeah. You see, the youngins, man, the youngins.
James, do you know what simping is?
Okay, he did, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So me and you would have been the only ones that didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we're old, dude.
Right.
We're old.
We're not, though.
Well, yeah.
We're just old here.
Old here.
All right. Anyway.
Exactly. Well, you know. Guys, can't wait to get into this episode. Moving right along. Right. Go right on to the next. And we got some sponsors today.
Let's give some love to the sponsors. We got the UF Mover Guys. If you or someone you know is about to move, tell them to give our friends, the UF Mover Guys, a call. Brad, Jordan, and the team at UF Mover Guys can literally do it all. They offer full service packing. They can move bulky items. They'll disassemble that furniture you need to move. If you need to put it in storage, they've got your back there as well. They offer free and fast, no obligation estimates, and they require no money up front. They don't even charge fuel fees on local moves, which is outstanding. You pay when the move is complete, and you are 100% satisfied with their work. Give them a call at 352-415-0886 or visit them at ufmoverguys.com. If you've ever moved by yourself once, then you know the value of a moving company. Just let them do it for you. Let them take care of it for you. Prop your legs up, enjoy it, and give them some love.
They'll move your business and your home.
That's right, dude.
They've been moving schools and stuff and everything, because all the school remodeling going on.
They do everything. The problem with living in a college town for so long is I've probably moved out so many friends over the course of being in here for like 16 years, where it's like, they always tell you, oh, next time I've got you. Well, when you stay at the same place for so long, and then they all move away from Gainesville, no one's got me when I move. So UF Mover Guys is going to get me, but
there you go. We also want to say thank you to Kyle Cohan and the team over at Leonardo's Pizza Mill Hopper. Leonardo's Mill Hopper offers the same classic food, family-friendly atmosphere, local beers on draft and in cans, and they even have an upgraded wine selection. I know, because I had it yesterday.
There you go.
Thank you for that. And during these times, you guys, they are still implementing safety precautions with masks for guests not sitting at the table, masks for all team members, limited seating, and these guys even purchased some UV sanitization lights to make sure that the restaurant is virus-free. Absolutely love Kyle and his team and their heart for Gainesville. Thank you guys so much. Of course, you guys order takeout or delivery on leonardosmillhopper.com, 352delivery.com, or by calling 352-376-2001. Get that pin, because I'm going to say it one more time. 352-376-2001. 2001. You can also take care of your whole team by ordering some delicious pizza pies from Leonardo's Millhopper through ezcater.com. That's the letter E, letter Z, cater.com. Thank you so much to all of the sponsors that make this show happen. We couldn't do it without you guys. Make sure you find all the sponsors at whoagnv.com/sponsors. Ready to go?
I'm ready. I'm excited for this episode because, like, you guys don't know this yet, but like I started to see like targeted advertisements on Facebook and stuff so I literally checked out the company once and I was like, man, like this is really cool. Like I can't wait to like learn about it. And then I saw that they were on the slate for a recording. And
he gets surprises because he doesn't really know. I'm the one who kind of goes through the process of like, finding the right mix of guests and booking everybody, and then he's pleasantly surprised. So
like, who do we have today? So let's go ahead and introduce them.
All right. Today on the show we have Kyle Lampkin and Michael Bayfar, co-founders of Laundr. You guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So you guys, we want to dive into all sorts of things entrepreneurship, but we like to start with a story. So let's talk about how you guys got this passion for laundry.
Absolutely.
It's a fun one.
So to start, it was way too long ago. That's the first thing. So
Yeah.
we founded Laundr in 2016 when we were sophomores in college. I was at the University of Florida and Michael was at the University of Central Florida. And yeah, it is, first of all, it is crazy to say we are coming up on 5 years. Absolute
Congrats.
insanity. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a big, that's like one of those startup, landmarks, right? The 5-year mark.
Yeah, and it feels like no time. There's still so much for us to do, but go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, when we started, we were like, yeah, I mean, a year or two, and we're gonna be there, like, and
We'll have arrived.
yeah, we'll have arrived, exactly.
I will be Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It's all it takes, just 2 years.
So yeah, sophomore in college here at University of Florida. A little bit louder, or he's good to
just a
go?
little bit closer. You're good.
Cool. Sophomore in college, University of Florida, and honestly, I hated doing my laundry. It was a difficulty no matter where I was. It was either a bad machine or no machine. And at that point in my life, I knew that I didn't want a 9-to-5. I knew that I didn't want to go to work, as weird as that sounds. And I was calling Mike like every other week. And at this point, Michael and I had known each other for like 10 years. We met when we were like 12 years old, went to middle school together, went to high school together. We'll get into it later, but our whole team actually met when we were like 12 years old. But yeah, so at this point, I was calling Michael pretty much every week with like another business idea. And Michael was the go-to guy because he would always point out the problems and the ideas that I had. So I would call him super excited. Hey, Mike, I got this cool idea. Let's do this. And he would be like, yeah, that's not going to work because of that. What about this? And then I'd be like, all right, that's right. And then we'd hang up next week again. And when I called him with the idea for Laundr, he kind of sat there for a while and was like, I think this could work. And the rest is history. That's when we got started. So.
By the way, some of those ideas were just like awful. Some of them are businesses today.
Michael, what was the worst idea that Kyle threw at you?
I don't remember many of the bad ones just because they got shot down so quick. The ones I remember are the ones that we deliberated over for a while. The one that comes to mind is Rent-A-Son, where basically like you could just like through an app, like have somebody come to your house to just do random things for you. And we know now there's like several startups that do that, like Handy, I forget the name of a few of them, but yeah, that's like actually like a part of the on-demand service market. So that's pretty funny.
Did you know that you wanted it to be like an on-demand service?
No.
Like we're all, no, it was just kind
I think at that point, we didn't actually even know what on-demand was.
Okay.
You know?
You're just throwing ideas at them.
Yeah, just throwing ideas. Pretty much.
So that was one of my first questions already, is because I think we often talk about like what's the next Uber or the next Airbnb, like things that we encounter on a day-to-day basis that after somebody turns it into a multi-billion-dollar industry, we're like, why didn't we think of that, right?
Yeah.
So when you were pitching this idea and you were deliberating over it, was it so much you hated doing laundry and so you're like, let me find other people that hate laundry and solve this problem for them, or was it trying to find the next like Uber? I mean, that's an overdone statement, but the next thing where it's like this has to have like huge growth potential.
I think it was a little bit of both. I think that I definitely knew I didn't want to do laundry, and I looked around and I saw that, my friends, my classmates were on the same page, and I didn't think it would stop there. So we did think that there was a problem that could be fixed. We thought that we had an interesting solution to that problem. But I'd also be lying if I said, we weren't interested in high growth. We weren't interested in making money. We weren't interested in, at that point, what we believed to be the only metric for success. So, yeah, that definitely was on our mind at that point, for sure.
I love the way you phrase that too. So tell us a little bit about Laundr, because I kind of just said, I've gotten targeted advertisements. I'm excited to actually learn about what it is. So tell our audience, what is the company? What do you do?
Absolutely.
Sure. Laundr is basically a way of connecting anybody who doesn't want to do their laundry and just has a little bit of extra money to pay for it at a very fair price with people who would rather make money by doing other people's laundry and make some great supplemental income that's pretty much commitment free.
Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? Is this an app? So what I'm used to, and I'm going to start asking this based off my own experiences, right?
Go for it.
I've never used Shipt before, but I work for Shipt. I do this on the side. Is it like that? So there's an app. Is it like a software-based thing where you're just connecting people, or do you have any kind of buy-in to the process besides the connections, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of the contractors on the service side, you could be a single mother that has to stay home and watch the kids, and you're looking for a supplemental income. We have some grandmothers who are post-retirement, looking for, to make a couple bucks, but not have to have a schedule, not have to leave the house, things like that. And then, of course, Gainesville, Florida, we've got students,
So I think I'll go ahead and ask probably the question you get the most and just get it out of the way because it's the one that stands out in my mind the most. The weirdest thing about it to me is the unmentionable aspect, the soiled clothes, the going through washing somebody's underwear or soiled whatever,
yes.
So I don't know, is there something I'm missing, or these are literally people that are washing people's underwear? Is this
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So is there
with a smile on their face?
It's just what it seems there's no way around it. It's just these are people picking up. I think I've seen in some of the advertisements, is there a device that they pick up their laundry in, or how is that communicated, or is that just something I've seen? Walk me through
the process.
I'm the person that wants my laundry done. How do I get it to the person? How do they wash it? How does it come back?
He's literally your next customer.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
I think this is actually two questions. Mike, if you want to talk a little bit about the process itself, and then I'd be happy to talk about the ideology. I think they're two different things.
Yeah,
that's a great way to make it.
This is awesome. I'm excited.
No, it's as simple as any on-demand app is. You just press a button in the app, you schedule your pickup. Somebody shows up at your door. They're taking your laundry, that we wait at the door. That wait serves two purposes. That's to ensure that when you get your order back, it's the same amount of clothes that you gave to us, and also to give you the price of the order, which is charged by pound. Mm-hmm. And from there, it just goes right from your house to the contractor who's going to wash it and right back to you. Usually happens within the same day.
Okay.
Yeah, and to address the question of washing other people's underwears, it's a great question. And I think that when we get that question, the answer that we usually give is if you put yourself, place yourself 10 years prior, and you thought about the idea of going into a stranger's home and sleeping in their guest room while they're home.
Right.
You'd be like, that is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
You're
I'm definitely
right.
not doing that. And I'm definitely not paying for, my son or daughter to go do that without me being there. On the same note, if you thought about the fact that one day you'd put your kids in a stranger's car and send them to their friend's house or school, that would have been unimaginable. But I think that what Uber and Airbnb have managed to do is that they've managed to take these services that were usually reserved for, I think, the upper class. You always had a driver if you were wealthy. You always had the ability to go stay anywhere if you were wealthy. And they've democratized those services, and they've made them normal. And I think that that's what we're trying to do for laundry service.
That's awesome. So is there any inherent risk that would set you apart from any of those companies, but with the fact that it's a laundry based thing, and I don't want to get into too graphic a detail, but if we're talking about fluids or anything that's on people's clothing and the person that's doing is there risks, is there insurance you have to have, is there any kind of fear there?
Absolutely. So I think that might be a little bit of a quality control question, and we always address quality control split into two sides. There is the liability side of quality control, and then there is the customer experience side. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Mike.
Sure, yeah. No, everybody's our customer on all three sides of the platform. Our drivers, our washers, and our users are all our customers.
So the driver and driver and washer is not necessarily the same person?
That's actually important for it being less weird.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very intentional there.
Yeah, so obviously there's a few strange situations that might arise with what you're talking about. Like maybe somebody's like laundry smells super, super weird or has something super strange leaking out of it and that gets in the driver's car. Yeah, so there is like the liability issue that's handled in the terms of service and such, but there's the fact that we're going to pay to clean that person's car.
Right.
Same thing with the washer. You know, your washing machine smells a little bit weird. We're going to try to fix it. Hopefully, we don't have to buy you a new one.
Right.
And with the users, it's all part of the terms of service. Our frequently asked questions page is gigantic, and at the end of the day, we usually just end up like comping somebody's order if they have any question at all.
Yeah.
So that's really what it comes down to.
And I think it's super important how he said that everyone is our customer. And I think that people, at least in our experience, are overwhelmingly good. We have very few issues, a lot fewer issues than we thought we would have. But like Michael said, we have had situations where we've had to tell a user, hey, we appreciate your business, but we're sorry. We're going to have to kick you off the platform. The service.
That's happened already?
Yes. The people on the service side are our customers. The people that are driving, they're our customers. I mean, we're a platform at the end of the day, so we have to monitor that kind of thing.
Cool. So I'm going to ask one more. Like I tend to ask the topical questions, and you dive
I have
deep.
so many questions.
Okay, good. So I'm going to ask one more topical question, and then I'll try to shut up and turn it over to Collin and ask, maybe take a different
That's
pivot.
Good.
So the people that are doing the washing, is there any kind of training that you provide? Do you standardize the detergent or anything like that? Because in my mind, I'm like fearing, is somebody going to shrink my clothes? Are they going to accidentally bleach my clothes? Is there anything like that? And so what does that look like? How do you train, standardize, and how do you limit the liability?
Basically asking you everything on your frequently asked questions.
Probably.
Pretty much.
We didn't know you were going to show up and we were going to interview you. And
I mean, I can spin my computer on you. You can just like pull up the website, spit out the FAQ answers if you want. But.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, sure. So with the washers, I mean, pretty much everything is like standardized. Like we came up with the term, we call it to McDonald's-ize something, because like anybody at McDonald's can make a perfect hamburger, as far as perfect hamburgers at McDonald's go.
Right. I got you.
But yeah, we do provide the box that your Laundr order is like packaged in to get back to you. We provide the detergent. We show you exactly how to fold like every single article of clothing that you could possibly have. We provide hangers to hang anything you'll need. It's fairly standard, and it's really not that hard. I mean, most of the people that work for us on the washing side are very familiar with like doing clothes. Like most of them do clothes for themselves or for their kids for like some number of years.
You don't get people that are signing up that have no experience doing this whatsoever. They're trying to make a buck, and they're like are high risk at screwing people's laundry up. Or
we do get those people signing up.
Okay.
They don't make it to the platform, but they're signing up. Yeah.
There's a what do you call it? There's filters in there.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm completely fascinated, but I'll turn it because I know you've got a lot too.
I'm fascinated, well, I mean, even going back to the beginning of this idea, right? Because I think in entrepreneurship, there's always you have to be passionate about business or are you just solving a problem? Like, it sounds like this is very much like, found a problem, let's solve it. Right. So, but like going back to, I mean, you're still getting into the laundry business. I mean, what were you thinking when you're when you're coming up with these ideas and pitching him and saying let's do this? I mean, were you really throwing things against the wall and just seeing what stuck?
Yeah, I mean, you phrased your question perfectly. What were you thinking? Like, I really was not. It really was that simple.
You're expecting Michael to say no, and you're like, oh,
anything.
Did you just know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and work for yourself? Like, what was driving it?
I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't so much about, and I don't know how it was for you, Mike, but it wasn't so much about knowing that I wanted to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. I was deathly terrified of the opposite. You know what I mean? Like that was the worst life I could picture for myself.
Working for somebody, being in a cubicle.
Just like passionless, just like, and mind you, today I've grown up a lot since then. I have a lot of friends and a lot of people who have great careers in conventional jobs. For a lot of people, it works. For a majority of people, it works. But I knew for me, it was like a death sentence. So I was terrified. It wasn't that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, you know?
So that was the driver.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. So I have this problem at my house with the dryer eating socks. Maybe this is on the FAQ page too, but like...
Sounds like you're taking a page out of my playbook here.
What do you do when the dryer eats the socks? Yeah. I will get one sock back.
So there's a few things you can actually do to make sure that your dryer and washer doesn't do that. There's like actually a few crevices you can check, and that's actually part of the instructions for the people who are washing the laundry. Like after the clothes come out of the washer, check the little like area beneath the spindle, run your fingers through that, spin the dryer after you pull the clothes out. And that strategy so far has gotten us through, I don't know, something close to 50 tons of laundry without any complaints.
Okay. I mean, you guys obviously had to become super detailed about the training in this.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, were you... I'm very interested in kind of like the experimental phase of this, like the testing of your app, or maybe did it even start like did you have some sort of platform or idea before you actually got to the point where it was an app? Like what was the progress in the transitions of the various aspects of this business?
So let me talk a little bit about that. I think at first we were like, okay, we're going to have this amazing laundry business. At that point, we had learned what on-demand was. We were like, okay, it's going to be like Uber. And we had no idea that there was a business behind Uber, to be frank with you, or a business behind Airbnb. We were like, it's an app. So we were like, we got to build the app naturally. So that's what we did. We took all of our savings, we pulled them up, we outsourced the development of the original build to a firm out in India that had a project manager here in the U.S. I think we spent like $12,000 or something like that. Yeah, spent like $12,000. It was all we had at the time.
Where'd that money come from?
Literally just all of our savings. Like,
okay, you guys.
I worked in high school. Yeah, just literally had. We had a third co-founder at that point. We can get into that. Pulled all of our money up together and paid for this app. This app came back and pretty much didn't work at all. And Mike really is the mind behind the tech stack. So if you want to talk a little bit about how atrocious that was before I continue, like, feel free.
He's like, let's not touch it. He's like,
I mean, I'm currently in the process of like rewriting everything, and I'm finally going to get off like the heap that was the previous like code base once and for all. So I'll be a little bit like less emotional about it after that.
Is it something you could have done better yourself, or is it something that even if they gave you a bad product, it's easier to go in and fix and make it what you want it to be with your knowledge base or anything like that?
100% hindsight 2020. I could have done a better job literally learning from zero to like coding everything myself.
That's a tough lesson.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll fill this in, like business major, advertising major. Like we didn't even know what to tell them. You know what I mean? Like we were just making all of the wrong decisions, like literally all of them.
Oh yeah, that's not for completely the fault of the organization we were working with.
They're a good organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was us. The problem was
us.
us.
This is more a learning curve for you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
How did you find that organization? Because you said they were in India.
Craigslist?
Right?
I think it was Craigslist. Yeah.
Craigslist?
Okay.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
God, an app.
Let's make an app.
Other sites were like $50,000. We were like, we don't have that. So we just kept looking.
That's great.
Yeah.
You got to look somewhere.
I do. I mean, this is startup life.
It is.
Like, I mean, this is why I love, with the show, we get so many varieties of different entrepreneurs and business people, business leaders, and some entertainers, like across the board, right? But like, I love diving into startup life, one, because it makes me reflect back to my early days and all the stuff that I had to go through in those early days. But I mean, this is like, people need to know, like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, a businessman, businesswoman, this is it. Like, these struggles are real.
There's something to be said for failing forward, like learning how not to do something.
Of course. The skill sets that you learn through that too are like gonna, impact the rest of your life, no doubt.
So the app comes back. Michael and I pretty much realized we were out of money. We're out of options at this point, and we've got to figure out how to make this code base work. And we didn't even know how to open it. So my brother is actually a software developer. We got on a call with him for like 4 hours. We're like, how do we open this? What is this? Like those kind of conversations. And I think it took us, was it like just over a year? I think it was just over a year where we were pretty much just learning how to code. literally just learning how to code. And we were able to get this app running. We were able to get it out, and no one used it. We were like
during that time.
Yeah.
During that time, any fear of, somebody finding out about your idea and copying it, and like, was that a concern?
Oh my God. Yeah. So we would later learn that being first is, and of course this is in my opinion, is really unimportant. And that there is plenty of market share to go around. We actually appreciate the work some of our competitors are doing today. Back then, we were terrified.
Okay.
We thought, because again, we didn't think there was a business. We thought it was an app. So it's all about the idea.
It's that same epiphany, because like whenever I first found out about your company, like I had the thought, and this is not to short, but I was like, how has that not been thought of already?
Yeah.
Like that's another one of those like, man, I missed another one kind of moments.
Same. And I think what you'll learn is that it's the business behind the app. Like once you've got the software, I mean, it's the same as a 1-800 number. You've got the number. That's how your customers interact with you. It's not the business, So we would learn that the hard way. And then the next 3 years after that, we're building that out.
Okay. Yeah, literally for the first time, building a legitimate business was the first step on our way to doing that.
All right, so you got to the point where you had an app.
Yeah.
And you said nobody used it. So I mean, that's frightening.
It was
What'd you do?
It was terrifying. We were texting our friends like, please use this. And just what we would later learn as an essential part of our marketing funnel is awareness. And so we believe that trust is definitely a function of time. And we had none of that. Even our friends were like, this is weird. Yeah. I'll use it. And then they just wouldn't. I mean, we were distraught, to say the least. Like, no one was using it. We'd spent all of our money. At this point, we had turned down every offer for an internship because we were working on this day in and day out. And our parents, our friends are kind of looking at us like, all right, well, you definitely kind of crapped the bed here.
So when you say no one's using it, like, you had no people that wanted to get their clothes laundered? Did you have people signed up to dry, people that signed up to wash?
No. So
you didn't have any interest in any of the three aspects, or?
We had interest. We just didn't have anything. I mean, we didn't know how to reach people. Our messaging was absolutely not there. Our process didn't exist. So we just thought, we were like, here's the app. Someone's got to drive, someone's got to wash, and someone's got to you guys figure that out.
Okay.
And it just didn't work that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Another issue with platforms is that you do have to kind of build them together. They have to build off of each other. If you have too many washers and drivers without the users, they have no volume. They're not getting paid. They're leaving. Mm-hmm. Too many users without enough washers and drivers, nobody's orders are getting processed adequately, and they get delayed and such.
And honestly, you just said that so succinctly. But we made that mistake like 7 times. Like we would get a couple users and then no one would do the laundry, and then they would fall off, and we would get a couple people doing the laundry and then there would be no users. So they'd be like, I'm not making any money, and they'd fall off. Like it took us just way longer than it should have to learn that.
Did you ever find yourselves doing any of those jobs to help make it?
Of course.
Okay. Good.
His face. You guys go watch this on the video. It's like, of course.
Yeah, no.
Dude.
For a
the
long
expressions
time.
are like the best part of this whole conversation for me. I'm just letting you guys know.
That is the deepest irony about this.
Okay. We got into the game to not do our own laundry, and I promise you, we've done more than I ever could have imagined, ever.
That's so great.
Yeah.
You're doing this in like a home washer, or you like going into a laundromat, or what?
Oh, absolutely, both.
Either,
okay. Whatever we could get our hands on, depending on if there's one on the washer, all right, we're gonna have to drive over there. I mean, it was literally anything. Call up a friend, hey, are you using your washer right now? I'm coming over. Like literally anything.
Did you set up 20 different accounts with 20 different names to make it look like you had all of these available?
Well, so no, actually, on the customer end, and we can talk a little bit about the customer experience. We can talk about why everything is standardized and how we believe that brand IP is really where it's at for us. Mm-hmm. When you come into the app, it's very standardized. You're not seeing where your clothes are going. It's a short process and it's straightforward. So in the early days, that definitely helped us.
Got it.
So are there different apps for the different segment? Like you've got the user that wants to have their clothes washed. You've got the person that's going to drive them back and forth. And you got the person that's washing it. That's not 3 different apps, is it?
So a lot of people do it that way, but we just incorporated it into one app, and there's like a little toggle on the home screen that lets you choose what kind of account you're trying to sign into.
Okay.
Can I do all 3?
You can actually register separately as all three. We have to approve you though.
Okay.
And we're like, this is definitely the ops.
You're going to see my name come through to do laundry. They're like, we're not letting Collin do it because obviously his dryer eats socks.
Right.
He's out. Check.
So,
yeah.
No, I have one. So, do you get any odd requests from customers that maybe want their laundry done a certain way? That, I mean, it sounds like you're a customer service business first and foremost, but at the end of the day, you also have to standardize things, and there's a limit to being able to give them everything they want, right? Do they want their clothes folded a certain way, this detergent, this fragrance, whatever? So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think when we started, it was, I cannot believe you're using this. I will literally do whatever you ask me to do. I mean,
I will tie a bow on every single piece of clothing. That's what you want.
That's where it started. So people were sending us all kinds of things. It wasn't until pretty recently that we started actually enforcing what was in the terms of service, saying, hey, like, we can't do bath rugs. Like, the rubber on the back of them will melt and damage your clothes. Like, we can't wash those. Like, you shouldn't put sneakers in your wash and fold. Like, once again, like, your clothing can be damaged by that. You can damage the machines of the individuals that we're sending your clothes to. So we've over time started to take, seriously what kind of items we can't process. But in the beginning, I mean, it was anything. Like, you want me to pick up your shoe? I don't even do dry cleaning. I'll figure it out, like that kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you said like tying a bow on it,
right.
Because this is a very customer service based business, and I'm sitting here thinking about from the customer experience side, like the different things you can really do to kind of amplify
stand out or anything,
that experience, and also I started thinking about the revenue streams, the growth opportunities, like possible collaborations. Like there's a lot of things that are flooding through my mind, so I'm kind of interested just to kind of hear like besides the app itself, is there anything that you guys are doing to amplify the customer experience? Like, what,
Or just distinguish between your competitors or anything?
Yeah, is it just, exactly. But thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll definitely let Mike talk about that a little bit. I did want to say, under me and Mike, we've got 3 teams. We've got operations, so that's how the clothes are getting done. We've got user acquisition, so making sure people find out about Laundr or using the platform. And then we've got customer experience. That's it. So it's 1/3 of what we do. But yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about like the specifics that, on the customer experience side.
No, sure. So there is the stuff that we like sort of explore with and try to like really continue to innovate in the field. And we'll get to that later. That's a fun part of the conversation. But the main driver of like what really pivots Laundr's service and what dictates what we work on a day-to-day basis is talking to the customers, talking to the drivers, talking to the washers. All of them have their own specific wants. When enough of them say the same thing, and we got to really like look into it. And a lot of times we're like, oh, that's literally better than the way we thought to do it. So we're looking at a lot of stuff right now. We changed most of our policies based on what washers wanted. We changed the entire way scheduling worked like 7 times based on what the driver said was convenient or inconvenient. And stuff like that has made people's orders come back on time like far more like consistently than the way that I had designed it just by research.
Love that.
That's awesome.
There's a lot that's been happening recently in the larger scale with like Uber and some of those companies about contract workers, having to insure them, what benefits can you provide, all that kind of stuff. How much of a pulse do you keep on that? I mean, I get the feeling that you guys are, you can say that you're not at the Uber level yet, but like you got to use that as a model. So is that something that you keep your eyes on in terms of how you might have to handle your contracted workers, or does it inspire any kind of fear in you guys in terms of what can, because it seems like it's hyper located right now to some states like California, but eventually that's going to be what the new demand is for those contract workers and stuff. So how do you navigate any of those things on that topic?
We are watching that. And it is something that we need to keep our eyes on from a logistics and operational standpoint. But to be very honest with you, I don't think it scares either of us. And that's just because when we started, we thought things were going to be very straightforward, and we were wrong about everything. I mean, we literally faced every single obstacle, and that's not going to be the one that kills us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I get that, yeah.
It's just not scary anymore. I mean, that's pretty much the best way I know how to put it.
How many markets are you in, or is it just
Gainesville right now?
Just Gainesville.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're testing in Orlando with student housing there, but due to COVID, we kind of pulled back out.
Okay.
But hopefully, we should be there in a few months, and it should be the greater metropolitan area this time. So we're happy about that. Orlando
Okay.
is next.
Yeah, that's great. So that was actually going to be my next question, was like, how do you scale this, right? Like, what's the thought process? Are you looking at like specific data, like why Orlando and not Jacksonville? Like what? Like
because he went to UCF. He's like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
And maybe it's as simple as that. But like what?
Yeah.
Like what is the thought process?
Yeah. So to be very clear, I think that we see a big difference between a small business and a startup. We don't think there's anything wrong with either, but a startup is defined by high growth. It has to be. The business idea behind Laundr will not define it as a startup. And what I mean by that is we're not in love with what it is we do right now. You know, we're in love with the process of coming up with ways to please our customer and scale that ability. So if things change along that journey, we're okay with that. The reason we're going to Orlando is because we have to prove two things before we can scale. We have to prove that this will work in a metropolitan area. That's what Orlando and Miami are going to allow us to prove. And we have to prove that we have a niche in small towns like Gainesville, which is after that expansion. We're looking at small towns like Tallahassee, St. Augustine, because we believe that wherever you've got a small radius, you don't have crazy traffic, drivers can get from side to side pretty easily, and you've got a fair density of people who are our target market. It's somewhere where our competitors are not going to be for a very long time, and we can eat up market share in those places. With that said, Laundr's service is not something we can scale nationally with $10 million. It's not. It is up. There's a lot of boots on the ground, and it's something that you need serious capital to scale. That means we have to prove these things before we can raise that kind of capital. And we've raised a little bit of capital. We raised a pre-seed round of capital. We were talking this last year about a seed round of capital. But again, me and Michael are just going back to the drawing board, and we're saying, we're not going to take this money if it's not going to be a game changer for us. And it's not. It takes a lot of money to scale something like this nationally.
And that's what you want to do, is eventually scale it nationally?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know you like to get into the organic growth versus VC growth versus anything. Like how do you see that fundraising going? I mean, like, do you see it? I mean, obviously you've got to go into different markets and prove something, but do you see it an avenue where it's organic and you can take profits and put it into a different market and grow that way? Or do you think it's got to come from people that buy into the idea, see the potential, and want to back it?
It can absolutely, and I don't want to hog the mic here, but it can absolutely be organic. It will take us 25 years.
Are you willing to give up ownership in order to get it back faster?
Absolutely, but I don't think it's just faster. I think that I don't think it matters if you're first to the scene, but it definitely matters if you're quick.
Right.
And, if we're doing this for 25 years, someone is going to do it better and bigger. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So
Sure.
If we want to be a national player in the next 10 years, which we think is the horizon for this thing being normal, sending your laundry to services like us will be normal, we're going to have to get capital and scale it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can add is that the solution is always a mixture of both. I mean,
Right.
It is so important to be aligned with the people that are investing in your company, because those people are your partners. A lot of startups don't look at them as your partners, but they might as well be as much of a partnership as Kyle and I.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to probably look like us scaling the way that we are right now in a very organic and stable manner based off of the profits we're bringing in, just consistently trying to pound out some percents every month. And then hopefully we come across some investors that are really aligned and understand the vision. And kind of the space is blowing up right now. So I see a lot more people actually like understanding that.
So I was going to ask you, what is the biggest thing that's holding you back, like right now? Is it users that want their clothes washed? Is it drivers? Is it money? Is it Laundr? Like what is the biggest thing that's holding you back, like right now, that would like spur the next stage?
I think that would be capital.
Okay.
And I think in order for us to raise the capital that we need on terms that are okay with us, we've got more to prove.
Okay.
And that's what we're in the process of doing. And I did want to answer all the questions on service, but I did kind of want to talk about, because as we talk about our future and what's next for us, what's holding us back, the line of products is really important as well. So Laundr's transitioned from just a service company to a product company. And that I think is a critical piece of this as well.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
What's
go
the
on.
product?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first product that we're going to be launching in just a few weeks, actually, is an all-in-one detergent balm. Think of it as like a bath bomb for your laundry. It's got detergent, it's got fabric softener, it's got anti-static, stain remover, and the critical ingredient is actually, I guess shorthand would be a fragrance capsule that delivers fragrance to your laundry for 9 to 12 weeks. And they're fragrances that don't exist on the market. So we've got cucumber watermelon, we've got mahogany teakwood, we've got white gardenia, fresh air, coffee vanilla, scents that you don't see in laundry. And pretty much this is an idea that came from our customers. We were getting customer requests because their clothes weren't smelling great or their clothes weren't smelling enough. I mean, people were
Or they smell like everybody else's.
Yeah, people were
Spring Meadow, like whatever it is.
Exactly. I mean, you got Spring Meadow, fresh Ocean Breeze, that's all you got.
Right.
And we basically never had the time or resources to consider building out a product. That would be a massive endeavor. And we talked about this a little bit up on the startup GNV video, but when COVID hit in February, we were at our height. We were doing more orders than we'd ever done. And March, we saw like a 75%, 80% drop. And Michael and I both, at this point, we had already hired people. We already had a team here in Gainesville. And Michael and I are kind of thinking, are we going to be able to beat this thing? And what's next if we can't? We're not going to let these people go. We're not going to throw in the towel at this point.
How many people?
5 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would have been us, 3 full-time, and 2 or 3 part-time, depending on where we were at. And the part-time would have been developers.
Yeah, that's not including any of the contractors.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry to throw you.
Nah,
Train
no
of
worries. So we're figuring out what would be next. And we had, these customer complaints. We'd had the idea for a product for a while, and we thought to ourselves, well, let's just go back into startup mode. Because honestly, for a while at that point, I mean, for a year, we had been in like hardcore operations. Like, we got to get users, we got to get their stuff processed efficiently. Like, we weren't going back to the new product development. What's a new business opportunity? We hadn't done that in a while.
And we'd been there before. Like when COVID hit and we saw numbers drop, we remembered a time when things were slower, and we knew kind of how to keep team cohesion, like somewhat a semblance of that, at a point where everything is slow. You can't continue doing exactly what you were doing because you're going to burn yourself out because you're putting in the same work but you're not getting the same results. So that led us to the project that we began working on after that.
Yeah, so we started working on this project. This time we were quicker. We thought we had it. We thought we were going to be in and out in 2 months, and it wasn't. It was about a year. But what we did learn is that the other parts of the detergent, it's an easy process. And we've got wet lab space where we actually manufacture the stuff. So the entire bomb is manufactured by us, but there's one piece of it that we could manufacture, but just the machinery alone to manufacture this stuff is incredibly expensive. It is the fragrance delivery system, because fragrance by nature is ephemeral. If you put fragrance oil on your laundry, it's not going to survive the wash cycle because the detergent, the surfactants in the detergent are designed to remove particles like that. And it's not going to survive your dryer because the fragrance has an extremely low flash point,
Right.
and your dryer will literally incinerate them. Not to mention the mechanical pressure of the entire process. So getting
Are you
fragrance...
following this? Because I love this conversation right now.
I know you do. I know you do.
Awesome. So the getting the fragrance to stay on the clothes is very, very difficult, and it's controlled by a handful of manufacturers in the United States, of which they're way too big to work with someone like us. We know this because we called them, and they said, no, like, you guys are way too small. We're not going to do this for you. But we found 2 firms internationally. We found one firm in Slovenia. It was incredibly difficult to communicate with them. So we ended up going with the other firm we found, which was in the UK. And they make the fragrance for us. They give it to us. We manufacture the balm, and that's how it goes.
So they present it to you in a I'll use the word capsule. That might not be the right, but in a way that can be released, that can survive the wash, can survive the heat, can survive everything.
So that process has been collaborative.
Okay.
There's been a lot of failed attempts. And like we said, when we went, we already known how to do this, because we didn't know how to code, but we learned how to code and we put out an app. So this was the same thing. When we literally bought fragrance and tried putting it in, different detergent products in different clothes, and it wasn't working.
Found a bunch of ways for it to not work.
Yes.
And you just got to find the way it does.
So we learned chemistry.
Right.
Like, literally, I mean, we're reading patents. We know that P&G's got some patents out. We're reading them. We're figuring out what kind of chemicals you need to make this stuff, what temperature, if you need motion, what machinery, things like that. And once we figure out how to do that, we go back and forth with this manufacturer, because he's working on lavender, ocean breeze, things like that. And he thinks it's a cool idea that we're trying to do something new. So we're going back and forth, and a few prototypes later, we've got something that works. And me and Michael look at each other and we're like, this is the best product on the market, like hands down. We like to use it on our clothes right now. We've got prototypes in the house. It's incredible. So we're super excited about that.
That's, incredibly fascinating. I don't know if you...
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. Like, from a standpoint of, offering a service and then even getting into a physical product.
Absolutely.
I think it's an absolutely amazing transition. And I think that you're going to start to see it. Like, you guys could be selling your own brands of washers in 20 years. Like, who knows?
Right.
It's crazy to kind of see how that stuff unfolds.
I was going to use the word hamper earlier. I was like, so how has COVID hampered you? And no, I shied away from it.
Mike is a big pun guy,
Yeah,
that was great. And now I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I got one. So, so one of the things that immediately comes to mind is you're looking for markets to expand, and this is not a novel thing. I'm sure you know this, right? I recently learned, like, I've lived in Florida all my life, and in that I lived in a small town called Merritt Island. I moved to Gainesville, and now I live in Jacksonville. But I have got friends that have moved to bigger metropolitan areas, and I found out that, like, they don't, like, 90% of the places don't have washer and dryers in their, like, units, right? There's no such thing as, like, getting a place that has in-unit unless you are rich. So at what point does, like, a concept like that determine where you move in? Because it seems to the novice guy, like, that's where something like this could really explode, is for people. Like, I think of, like, how's COVID impacted businesses, right? And people being at home more probably doesn't help you because they're there to do their laundry. And maybe that's not right, but, like, that's kind of what I would think. Versus, going to a place where there's less, like, in-unit laundry and they're already having to leave their premises to do it. That seems like a lucrative avenue. And like I said, I know I'm not inventing an idea here for you. Like, this is something I'm sure you've thought of, but, like, at what point do you go into a market like that, which I'm sure is a bigger metropolitan, a New York City or Chicago, something like that. But at what point do you jump there?
I think that's part of the strategy. And I think that comes down to knowing what you're good at. We have competitors. Most of them started after us, but they've got big budgets and they are in places like that. They're playing the same game we're playing. There's a couple key issues that we're all trying to solve. And while they focus on fighting each other in these major places, there is a lot of market share left on the table. And we're not afraid of saying this. It's just the truth. If we had the funding that they had, we'd be in New York City, DC, Boston, San Francisco as well. But we don't. So our strategy has to be a little bit different.
And so the product development side that you guys are talking about, is that something that truly does? I mean, I hope it's like, competition is nice and it helps breed innovation, right? But, like, I hope they're not listening. Is that something that you feel like truly differentiates you that they're not doing? And if that's not true, what do you do that maybe they've got the capital edge, but that you can take advantage of to kind of even playing field?
Yeah, I think we fell in love with the laundry space, which is really, really weird.
Not what you thought, right?
I mean,
I was going to say that too. When I was seeing him talking about all that stuff and all the, the IP, like,
I don't want to break anybody's hearts, but you didn't get into scooters because you love scooters.
No, I know, but now I see this guy, like, he's all, man, like, mixing and motion and, like, he's like,
this is actually exciting stuff.
I'm like, Kyle's, like, passionate about laundry and pods. Like, let's go.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be here forever. I think there's other businesses we want to start. There's other industries we want to enter. But what we found in laundry is that it's not that we love laundry. We love innovating. And this is a space that is controlled by a select few amount of companies. And it's not that they're not smart. It's that they will literally leave opportunities on the table.
Just because they're only worth $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's a $20, $30 million opportunity. Don't need it.
Yeah.
You know?
I was literally thinking about, maybe it was on my drive today or yesterday, but it was like, where did the Tide Pod come into existence? Because it doesn't seem like that long ago that we were just like willy-nilly pouring detergent into the wash and letting it go, and that was what. But at some point they decided, hey, we're going to put this into a capsule and see what happens. And now literally everything is pod based. And it's like, was that really that novel of an idea? But it sure as hell took off. So like, there's not really a question in there, but it's like the innovation of an industry that's been around forever. People have been washing clothes forever. P&G has been around for forever. And so like at what point did they decide, hey, we're going to wrap this in a plastic capsule that dissolves, and that's an innovation? Like, but you guys are kind of doing something similar. But I don't want to say that it's the same, but like it's maybe it is. But
I have a hunch. Like I think we have a fresh generation of people who don't want to waste.
Right.
Like it's like I feel like it's like that perfect measurement type mentality. It's
right.
like don't be wasteful. Like here's the exact amount.
There's
that you
one
need.
reason I buy Tide Pods, and it's because I was always the person that dumped way too much detergent.
Right,
like if it was liquid
exactly
detergent,
right.
it's like, oh, here's a capful. An extra capful would probably be better, right? But like if it's a pod, it's like, no, I'm throwing a pod
Right.
in and letting it go. So I don't know. This is just like common people questions.
Yeah,
but
no, of course.
Never imagined having a podcast on
Of course.
laundry. Like
It's
that's
a Tide
like,
podcast.
This is like what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
it's a Tide podcast.
And we do have to wrap up in a few minutes, and I have one very important question before we wrap up.
We're all just gonna let my pun go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was going to answer that really quickly,
Yeah,
saying
please.
that it depends. The competitive advantage is found in the mission, and I think the mission differs from service and for products, for bombs. For the service, our mission is to give our customers their time back. That's very different than our line of products. Our line of products is to make laundry day an adventure. So we've got two types of customers.
I love that.
We're trying to solve laundry for both of them. And what we started with was that no one wants to do their laundry. Service. What we realized is that some people do. And for those people, how do we make that time that they're already going to be spending amazing? So instead of something that they don't look forward to in their week, something that they're super hyped about. You know, I got my blankets are going to smell like coffee vanilla. My towels are going to smell like tea tree eucalyptus, like make it exciting. And I think that that's our advantage. I mean, we barely see ourselves as a laundry product company. On that end, we see ourselves as a fragrance company. I mean, you know, it's just there's just so much space for innovating around the customer in this space specifically.
You're gonna be able to give rewards of extra pods for them to do their own laundry.
I've got a really bad good idea for you. Okay. You want to hear it?
I love this.
It's a really bad good idea.
Let's go.
You know the Harry Potter like Birdie Bot magic flavored beans, where it's like you can get one that's like great and you can get one that's like earwax. What if you did your bath bombs in like these random flavors where somebody like just got their fresh laundered thing delivered and it smells like grass or it smells like earwax.
That was a terrible idea.
Or it
You're
smells like
right.
whatever. But it's like, hey, it's clean. It just the fragrance, maybe not what you expected.
We've heard it. Our VP of marketing, shout out Donovan Vasquez. He was talking about how G Fuel had a hot dog water flavor. And him and Michael were. I mean, I think they're still serious, planning about some gross Laundr bomb sense.
There's a fun one, the Russian roulette Laundr bombs. Basically, I took the idea of a Laundr bomb, and the name of it is obviously a bomb, and I implanted some
Carbon like type
pure metallic sodium, which if you know
sulfur or something. Yeah,
it reacts with water. So when you put it in your washer, it like for lack of a better word, it explodes.
Okay, that's a quite literal.
Literal explode. Yeah.
I tested that one. It burned a hole in one of my shirts, but
Okay. Well, that's
I love
R&D.
the trial and error,
Yeah,
of this company.
They learn hard for sure.
That's great.
This is good. I could ask like 1,000 more questions
I know,
about
man.
like the finer details of the product and stuff. But.
Yeah, well, let me ask like a very important question when it comes to really some of the mission behind this podcast, right? You're at the stage where you're talking about funding, and one of the things that we have consistently heard as entrepreneurs, and one of the reasons why we started this podcast, it's one of the missions of the podcast is to bring more investors and more experienced talent to Gainesville. So my question is, how much is Gainesville holding you back right now, or is it?
I'd say it's very much the opposite, to be honest.
I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree.
Can you elaborate why?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different aspects. A lifestyle aspect, like in Miami, just there's a lot of distractions around you. Our friends just wanting to go out and do things that weren't necessarily the most productive. Gainesville has been an amazing place to focus, not because we don't have friends, but because for some reason there's the air here of productivity. Like people here are trying to get their business done, and we've noticed that shift in everybody that we've hired from Miami that came up here. Like it really is a culture.
It's awesome.
So I know you said that Laundr might not necessarily be the end all. You have other business endeavors that you might want to eventually get into, but until then, like, is there something? Gainesville serves that purpose. Now, is there something like if you grow and you scale, is Gainesville going to be the hub for this as long as it rides, or is there something that you might see eventually holds it back? But that would necessitate a move to a bigger metro city that has more to offer, or anything like that?
Well, I feel like sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like a lot of times from what I see is that if it is a VC firm or somebody who invests, like it's almost like a requirement, or they're like making this push, like, hey,
right,
we want to invest in you, and we're gonna give you these millions of dollars that you need to scale this, but we need you to come to Tampa, or we need you to come
to Austin,
Austin, whatever. And, and that's just one perspective,
right.
But
I think it's unlikely that we'd have to move. I mean, in the future, I think there really will be pros and cons. I can foresee some things holding us back, but I honestly think Gainesville has a lot to offer, and I don't think it would be difficult for us to recruit outside of Gainesville and bring people here. We've done that already. All of our team, none of them are from Gainesville.
Cool.
It's awesome.
And they're here now. And I think that we have great investors right now. None of them have ever pressured us anything like that.
Okay.
I think that for us, it'll always be in our hands, whether we want to stay here or not.
Are you going to be able to get the funding that you need?
I think we will be able to. I think right now it's all about terms, making sure that we have the right terms, because really, Michael and I may at some point decide to raise money again. And if we do that, we need to make sure that this round we're keeping some equity on the table for future rounds. So we're making sure that we can get a valuation high enough, and there's a couple things we have to prove before then. But yeah.
I want to be like clear about something a little bit. Just like I think a lot of times I ask that question, and it's almost seen as like a negative, like, what is Gainesville going to hold you back from? The point in asking that, and I'm not saying your answer is great. I'm asking that more for let's get ahead of
Yes.
anything that might hold you back, so that when you run into it, or when the next company runs into it, that this potential problem has already been solved, so it's not a problem for that company, it's going to hold you back and cause you to move, right? So like that's kind of the essence of that question, because we very much want to make Gainesville the best, and we want to incubate these businesses and don't want anything to hold them back. So it's asking those questions to know, like, what do you feel like you might encounter, and whether or not it gets solved before you encounter it, or whether or not it gets solved for the next person that may encounter the same thing. Like that's trying to move that conversation forward. So I just kind of wanted to say that piece.
Mike, I don't know if you have a differing opinion. I think that Gainesville should stop trying to be what it's not and embrace what it is. I mean, you're not going to be a San Francisco. I mean, it's just too much legacy. There's too much happening there. The money has always been in New York. Like, there are these things that have been set, and I think Gainesville is great. Today, you can raise capital virtually, and you can certainly raise capital on a plane. There's no need to move your entire team there. The cost of living here is very cheap. The culture is very cohesive. Like, Gainesville has a lot going for it, and I think instead we should fuel that, instead of trying to be something that it's not.
Oh, that's actually
great.
Something that's come up a couple times too.
No, I agree. I think that's fantastic. I think it's like, I don't know. There's something about, the label, and I think the label is starting to shift. The label's always been, this is where you go to college. Gainesville's a college town.
You can start something here, but you can't scale there.
Yeah, and I think it's starting to shift. And I think you're absolutely right. Well, I think it's spot on. Mm-hmm. So this has been awesome.
Yeah, no, I love the idea. I love the concept. I love the places that you can go with it. The idea of having mahogany and teak flavored laundry is pretty cool. But I think it's brilliant. Well done. Kudos to you guys, and I love to see where it ends up.
We'll make sure you get a bag.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the recap episode of this. Yeah. Where are they now?
What's the strangest scent that either you've explored or like you've been like it's been requested?
Probably orange creamsicles up there.
Okay, yeah, that'd be a weird one.
I Oh yeah, that's Donovan once again. Just keeps trying to slip orange creamsicle there in every team meeting. He's like, when are we gonna get that
Donovan,
one?
what are you doing?
Pumpkin spice as well.
Oh yeah, that seems like you're gonna have to do that eventually. Like you're not gonna be able to avoid that one. But yeah, I think it's time to wrap up the show. Where can our audience connect with you? What's your favorite platforms? How can they reach you? How can they sign up for your services?
So first things first, the spelling, Laundr with no E, Laundr. If you Google that, you'll find us. Laundr.io, easiest way is probably just typing that into Google.
Wherever you get apps, we're in the app places.
Beautiful.
Yep, the app places, not the Windows App Store. Huge story there for another day.
Sorry, Windows phone people.
Apple and Android, we're there.
Okay, awesome.
Guys, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah,
This has been fun.
Thanks for having us.
Wow, it goes by fast, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It does.
Blue.
And thanks so much to the team that makes this possible. James Leitner, Sarah Lintz, and of course my co-host Michael Dees.
And thanks to you, man. Wouldn't be possible without you.
Yeah, and podcast fam, if you were driving and didn't have a chance to write down any of the information from our sponsors, don't worry. It's on our website at whoagnv.com/sponsors. Get the links to all of them right there. It will also be in the show notes and description on YouTube and iTunes and everywhere else. And special love in this episode to the Best Restoration. You guys, you need to have friends on your side when disasters happen. Maybe it's that laundry machine. Maybe that pipe breaks. Right.
That's happened to me before, and actually, the Best Restoration has had to help me when my laundry, washing machine just leaked
Like it
water everywhere.
happened to
Yeah,
us.
that happens.
Real stories here, you guys. I'm talking about that when that washing machine breaks or when that toilet overflows, whatever it is, the Best Restoration has you guys. They will take care of you. They took care of us here at the dealership when we had full of mold when we were remodeling it. Ugh. Please. Like those
I can smell it.
etched in my mirror. Yeah, that.
I don't smell it anymore, but I can smell it.
You definitely don't want a
nostalgia.
pod that smells like mold, because that's the worst stuff. But you know what, you guys, it's okay, because the Jorge and the Best Restoration crew came through for us, and they'll come through for you guys as well. We can speak firsthand to their quality of work, just absolutely incredible. They have certified techs, state-of-the-art equipment. These guys are the masters of disaster. Give them a call at 352-505-3321 or visit them at thebestrestoration.com. And when you do, say, I heard you on the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go,
Whoa.
Whoa.
whoa. We will see you later. Bye.